fossils, prehistoric monsters, dinosaurs. When Mary Anning was just a girl, she started uncovering prehistoric creatures, fossils that rewrote Earth's history. Her findings proved species could go extinct, which wasn't thought possible at the time. But instead of being remembered as the mother of paleontology, Mary Anning's fossils were sold off, displayed under men's names, and history reduced her to a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells by the seashore. Yeah, that's about Mary Anning. This is the story of the woman who dug up the past, only to be buried by it. Paleontology. While it's a popular and obvious field of science today, in the early 1800s, paleontology was not yet an established science. Fossils were treated like trinkets for collectors, tokens of superstition, or decorations in cabinets of curiosity. Most people believed that the Earth was just a few thousand years old, created exactly as the Bible described it. The idea that species could go extinct was considered absurd, even blasphemous. That began to change when French naturalist Georges Cuvier argued that extinction was real, eventually earning the title the father of paleontology. But actually, the fossils that proved him right weren't dug up by him or any gentleman of science. They were unearthed by a girl named Mary Anning. Throughout the early 1800s, Mary continuously found and excavated the fossils that would build the field of paleontology, hauling gigantic skeletons out of crumbling seaside cliffs with a hammer and a chisel. Mary Anning spent years risking her life in landslides, scaling unstable shale, uncovering skeletons the likes of which no one had ever seen before. And though her discoveries would build the very foundations of paleontology, her own name would be left out of the story she herself was writing. Born in 1799 in Lyme Regis, England, Mary's life looked nothing like the lives of the wealthy men who would later get credit for her discoveries. Her family scraped by selling curiosities they collected on the beach, what tourists thought were seashells. But they weren't seashells, they were fossils. In 1811, a storm exposed something strange in the cliffs near her home. Mary's brother Joseph spotted the skull, but it was 12-year-old Mary who spent months chiseling out the rest. She had discovered a full 17-foot skeleton unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The world's first complete ichthyosaur, a fish lizard. The first real evidence toward proving extinction was real and that life existed millions of years before humans. At first, people thought it was just a giant crocodile. But when the fossil made its way to London, local collectors bought Mary's find for cheap. And it eventually ended up in the hands of Surgeon Everard Home, who presented it to the Royal Society of London in 1814. The fossil was published, studied, displayed, but not under Mary's name. Her discovery became his scientific achievement. For years, she kept scouring the cliffs, excavating skeleton after skeleton, selling them to high society naturalists just to get by. In 1823, she uncovered something even stranger. A 9-foot animal with a massive body, but a head less than 5 inches long. It looked so bizarre that rumors spread it was a fake. Even Georges Cuvier, the father of paleontology, doubted it was real. The Geological Society of London held a heated debate over the find. Mary, of course, wasn't allowed in the room. But when the dust settled, Cuvier admitted he was wrong. The fossil was genuine. Mary had discovered the Plesiosaur, a brand new prehistoric species. And just 5 years later, in 1828, she unearthed yet another first: the skeleton of what looked like a flying dragon. Scientists would name it the pterosaur, the first flying reptile ever identified. By now, Mary Anning had discovered 3 prehistoric species, but every time her fossils reached London, they entered science through the hands of collectors. Her specimens were shown at the Geological Society, written up in academic papers, displayed in museum halls, but always under their names, not hers. While paleontology was becoming a science, fueled by Mary's findings, Mary herself was still treated as a curiosity seller. The fossils she risked her life to find were sold for pitiful sums, and the money was barely enough to keep her family afloat. At one point, her mother wrote begging letters to the British Museum because a curator had taken one of Mary's ichthyosaurs and never paid for it. Still, her reputation grew quietly among those who knew the truth. Collectors and scholars from across Europe and even America began traveling to Lyme Regis to consult her, to learn from her, to watch her excavate. Some of the greatest minds of the age relied on Mary's expertise because no one knew the cliffs or the creatures inside them like she did. But in the official record, the papers, the lectures, the museum displays, even after her death in 1847, it was the gentlemen fossilists of London whose names went down in history, while the woman who dug their evidence out of the cliffs was reduced to a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells by the seashore. That's about Mary Anning, and for more than a century, that rhyme was really the only way she was mentioned in the history books. It took nearly 200 years for historians to restore her place in science. Mary's work transformed science itself. Without Mary's fossils, Darwin might never have written On the Origin of Species. She revealed that the Earth was far older than the Bible claimed, that species could go extinct, that entire lost worlds once existed beneath our feet, and the world almost erased her for it. Thank you, Mary Anning. Your curiosity allowed you to see the world in ways far beyond your time. Thank you for rewriting the story of life on Earth. Here at Actually History, we're seeing history through a new lens and giving credit where it's actually due. Most of our stories are based on this book, and she co-wrote it. This is, to her credit, Historic Achievements and the Women Who Actually Made Them Happen by Caitlin Colmo and Emily McDermott. We kindly ask, if you're interested in our mission, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. More stories to come. Class is in session.